What's up guys, I'm randomfrankp, and today I have a video on a gaming mouse that might just dethrone the G502. Today we're going to be talking about the Cooler Master MM830. So today we're going to go over it all for you guys, talk about my experience and stuff with it, to see if this could deviate me from the G502, which has been my go-to mouse for 4+ years now. So obviously if I'm doing some comparisons to that during this video, you know why. But let's check it out. Alright, so taking a look at the MM830, it does have 8 programmable buttons total. On the left side, you have a thumb rest with this kind of discreetly integrated D-pad here. There's also a rubber texture on that side just to add to the grip overall. Towards the front side of the mouse, you have this tiny OLED screen, but we'll go over this stuff in more detail in a minute. In the left and right clicks, it uses Omron switches rated at 20 million clicks, and I'll do a little sound test now so you can hear it. Now, as for the shape of this mouse, I think it's best used for someone who does a claw or a palm grip. However, obviously everyone's different, everyone's hand size is going to be different. But it is slightly wider than the G502, which I think, for me at least, is more comfortable because it's just more natural to hold, and it causes less strain on my pinky finger, which I do sometimes get from the G502 because it's a thinner body. Now, as for the weight, it's essentially the same. This is 122 grams for the body, and the G502 is 121 grams. So yeah, on the heavier side, but honestly, in the PC community, there's so many elitists out there, and people will weight shame a mouse so much. But I mean, for my time with it, and probably because I'm so used to the G502, I didn't have any issues with it. Yeah, it'd be nice if it was a little lighter, but it's never negatively affected me in game, and if you think a mouse is too heavy to the point where it is going to affect you in game, get good. It's like 1/5 of a pound. Now moving on, we can take a more in-depth look at some of the features. First, the optical sensor used here is the Pixart PMW3360 with a DPI from 100 to 24,000, which yes, is definitely a bit excessive. I've had no issues gaming with this or using it so far. It is a bit of a dated sensor though. I believe the sensor was first used in mice in 2016, I want to say. So yeah, it's a bit older, but it's still a trusted sensor nonetheless. I know SteelSeries and Logitech have also used the sensor in their mice in the past. But for me, no lag, no hiccup, nothing like that. It's all been very positive. The integrated D-pad here is a pretty cool addition. This can be programmed to be anything you want, obviously, from media controls, DPI switching or shifting, a keystroke, forward, backward, you name it, you can set it to the D-pad, which is pretty cool. And one thing I thought that was really interesting is inside the software, you can set one of these to be this like rapid fire left to right click, and then determine how many times it registers as a click. So obviously I tried this in gaming. Figured, hey, if I could have one click be 5 clicks, I'm using like a single shot gun, will it register 5 times and get off 5 rapid shots? No, but I also figured that obviously games would kind of prevent this or go through some sort of, like modding or hacking measures to prevent this stuff from happening. So you click it once, even though it's registering as 5 times, in game it's registered as 1 click. Again, understandable. But I mean, I assume if you're using this in like a browser game or some sort of software, certain programs, I don't know, I assume you can find this still useful in certain things or in certain instances that you would need multiple clicks for. But outside of gaming, it's still gonna register as how many clicks you determined it to be. There's also this like tactics feature, which is pretty much like pressing function and a key on your keyboard. So you can kind of have like a whole different set of like macros or I don't know, functions. It is kind of awkward though, because you have to set one of the arrows for the D-pad to be that tactics control and then another arrow on the D-pad for it to be that extra function. So it's like you're pressing 2 things at once with your thumb, which is kind of awkward unless I'm just doing this completely wrong. But you're essentially getting an extra 8 buttons just on the D-pad. But since we're here talking about this stuff, we can just dive into the software real quick, and they use something called Portal software. In the buttons tab, it lets you change up all the physical buttons, that D-pad configuration I just talked about. Performance then is gonna be DPI tuning from, again, 100 to 24,000 DPI. You can set different sort of like levels and stuff to fit your need. Lighting's obviously gonna give you control to change up all the RGB lighting, and there's actually a few different zones integrated here. You have the scroll wheel, the DPI button zone, the logo outline, and there's underglow on the mouse, which I think looks pretty cool. And to note, the logo actually has full RGB control for some of the effects, so it's not just like one static color. Then the OLED mode lets you change whatever is being displayed on that tiny OLED screen. I personally just keep it simple. I have it on the DPI setting so I can physically see what it is. But they have tons of things from like liftoff distance to showing your CPU usage, tons of different options here. You can even do things like draw custom designs or whatever, or just import graphics to be displayed. There is no game integration like I know SteelSeries has on their mice, games like Counter-Strike and stuff to show you how many, I don't know, bullets you have left and stuff like that. So no game integration that I know of. Then you have the macros and profile tab, obviously for creating macros and setting your different profiles. You could store up to 5 different profiles on this mouse. So all in all, I really have no complaints with this mouse, and it is definitely one of the closest mice I've come across that could rival the G502, because yes, physically it looks identical. Same pretty much sensor, because they use the 3366, which is just their own custom iteration of the 3360. And it just feels at home, because I've been using that mouse for the past 4 or 5 years now. So obviously I'm going to be comparing this to that because it is so similar, even down to the weight being a 1 gram difference. The one big difference here is that this does not have the modular weights on the bottom. You could add more weight to, although I think it goes up to like 150 something grams on G502. So you don't want it to be heavier than that, obviously. It's already heavier as it is. But it's been a really great experience for me. I mean, the D-pad thing is pretty cool. Having the OLED is cool, while not entirely, useful for me at least. The one thing I do kind of miss though on the G502 is that like the sniper button they call it, where you can downshift to a certain very low CPI or DPI for like sniping and stuff. On here you can cycle through and change your DPI modes, but there is no way to just quickly press a button and have it downshift real quick, then shift right back up when you're done pressing it. So does it dethrone the G502? Again, muscle memory for me, probably not. I'm probably always gonna revert back to that mouse because I've been using it for so long. But hands down, the closest I've come to a mouse that could possibly dethrone it. This retails for $74.99, $75, which is what the G502 originally launched for. And it was recently $50, and they released the G502 Hero, so now it's back up to $75. So I assume after a year or so, this will also drop to around $50 in that price point. But altogether, fantastic mouse. Good job from Cooler Master here. Really, really liking this one. And guys, that'll wrap it up for my review of the MM830 from the Cooler Master, Ooh, they are the master of cool. Oh my God. All right, so I hope you enjoyed. If you did, give this video a thumbs up to show your support. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at randomfrankp. And lastly, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I'm Random Frank P. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.